So for this class, we're gonna first go over indentation again, right? Because does anyone know like properly what indentation is?
It's
Exactly
basically
what
the
it is?
spaces like tab when you press tab.
Exactly. Okay. Oh,
That
sorry,
dot
I'm not sharing
space.
my screen. Am I? No, I'm
No.
not.
Just stop sharing.
Okay, there you go. Indentation. So what were you saying? Sorry, I cut you off.
My mouse लाके दे दोगे?
Shizaj? Okay.
Yes.
You were explaining what indentation was?
I just said it was the spaces required in the code.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. The spaces required in the code. So what Python, so usually other programming languages, they have another method, like they use curly brackets and you have to open and close curly brackets. So it's a little more complicated, right? For Python, you can just use a tab, right? So an indentation, actually not even a tab. An indentation is either a tab or a space, right? You see the tab key and the space key. So that will create a certain amount of space where it's required. So let
What
me
about
show you an example.
what about enter key?
Enter key cannot be used because enter brings it to another line, right? You just want that small amount of space.
Okay.
Yep. So let me make a new code.
I tried it like the same way as you told me. It's saying that my average is 0.
Okay, I'll show you that later then. We can go over it later. So I'm just gonna create indentation. Okay. So I'll just make like a quick code. So I'm gonna make like a magic number game, right? Like a guess your number game. So let's see here. What's gonna happen is I want to input a number from the user and I want to check if it's the same as my number. Okay. So and input enter number. Okay, and if number is equal to say okay, let's make it easier. Number is equal to 6. If number is equal to magic number, then I want to print correct number. Or else print wrong number. Okay, so this code doesn't make sense. It's relatively easy. What it does. Does it make sense for everybody?
Not really, but
Yes.
Okay, fine. Then let me just explain it really quickly. So what's gonna happen is number is gonna input a number from the user. So the user just enters like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, a random number, right? And if that number is equal to my number, then I say correct. If it's not my number, then I'll say wrong.
okay.
Okay? Let me just show you an example. Say 3, wrong number, right? Because my number is 6. And then again, and this time we'll put 6, correct number. Okay, does that make sense? So let me show you where the indentation actually comes in handy, right? So what happens if I do not put this space between the wall and the print statement? If I remove that, then Python doesn't know what to do if it has an if statement, right? So let me just show you again indentation problem, right? Again error. So what happens is Python takes in, so for any type of like commands. So if you have like an if statement or a for loop or while loop or anything like that, right? Else statement. You always want to put an indent whenever you want to put any code inside of it, right? So in this if statement, this would be part of it, this would be part of it, this would be part of it, right? So all of this is part of the if statement. If this condition is true, all of this will be part of it. But if I put something here, that's not part of the if statement. Okay, that's just going to be touching the wall. It's not going to happen if this condition is true. Okay, does that make sense? Right? One sec. Sorry, one
Yes.
second. Okay. Yeah. So that's what indentation is. Again, the same thing here. The same thing here. Python doesn't know what to do if this else statement is true. It only will know what to do if you give it an indent, if you put a space over here. So that means this will be part of the else statement, this will be part of the else statement, this will be part of the else statement. Okay? Cool. I also told you the same thing applies for functions, right? Basically anything that uses a colon. So if you were to say define a function and then this, right? In this function, anything that you put over here will be part of the function, but anything that's put over here is not part of the function. Okay? Because in this function, if you put an indent from where this is, and you put a space and put something over here, this will be part of the function. But since there's no space between where this is and where this is, Python doesn't know that this is part of the function. Okay, does that clear some things up on what indentation is?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So like Ditya, the Python code you were showing me earlier for the average finder, what happened was you made a function and you use a print statement. But instead of putting the print statement here, you put the print statement here, right? So what happens is there's no indent. So Python doesn't know that the function, that the print statement is part of this function because they're on the same line. But if you put an indent, then Python will know anything after the indent is part of this function, right? So another example is if you were to put for I and numbers over here, right?
Yeah.
You would put an indent and anything, so in the code that we were doing earlier, sum plus equal to I, right? In this indent, anything that's not on the same line, anything that's above and in front of the for statement will be part of it, sorry, right? But this is not part of the for loop, right? Because it's on the same line. But anything that has an indent is gonna be part of the for loop. Okay?
Okay.
Does that clear things up? So that means this print
Yeah.
statement, it would be part of the function, but it's not part of the for loop. Because from the function, there is an indent. But from the for loop, there's no indent. Right?
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that makes sense, right? Another rule about indents is that it can be a tab. So if everyone's going to try it out, you can click the tab key. It'll give you a big space, right? Or you can use the space key, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so but one important rule, Vaishnav actually had this problem when we were coding last class, is you cannot use a tab
Yeah.
over here, and you cannot use and then you can't use a space over here because they have to be the same. So either only use the tab or only use the space. From personal experience, the tab is a little more defined. It makes it like clears things up. It's a little more organized. So I use that more. It's up to you, honestly. It just has to be any amount of space. So a tab key works over here. But if you do space and you use tab over here, you'll get an error, right? So they have to be the same. Okay, so this will work over here. I can show you an example if you want. So, whoops, sorry.
So basically, until and unless you write the number 6, it's just it will keep telling you wrong number, wrong number.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, if your number
Mhm.
is like 6, then it will say, then you have asked it to print correct. But if
Exactly.
like you write it other than 6, which is not equal to 6, then it said that like I is
Wrong
not
number.
equal to 6, which is wrong number.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that over here. Exactly. Right? So that's just the if and else statement. Right? But what we have to focus on here is this indent. There has to be that tab over there. Okay? Does that make sense for everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so also one more important thing to remember is that for if statement, else statement, for loops, functions, you always have to use this colon. Okay, so at the end of your if statement, you use a colon. So the thing about Python is if you put like a function, so define function, and then you put a colon, Python knows that anything you're probably going to write after will be part of the function. That's why if you click enter from there, it'll already give you an indent. This space over here means that anything you write over here is part of the function, right? So you can type whatever, whatever, right? But if you do not put the colon, Python's thinking that you're not even using the function. So when you click enter, it's going to take you to the next line over here, right? It won't give you the indent. So that's when you know that you're right? If this indent shows up over here in the function. Okay? So that's a colon. Colons are used for functions. They're used for loops. They're used for if statements, else statements. Okay, cool. Great.
Yeah.
So, nice. Okay, so I'm gonna go over the next topic in that case. Anyone have any questions, or I can move on?
You can move on.
Okay, great. Just file. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, here you go. So this was the code that we started with last class. If you guys remember what the random was, right? So random, remember you import random and it's a module that's not directly part of the environment. So you have to use import random, and then you can use random.randint, random.randrange, random.choice sample. So I'll be going over these again, right? So last class I only went over these two. I'll just quickly do a recap of that. So what random dot number is equal to random dot rand int, and then if you guys remember, random.randint will take in two values. Okay, so let me just go over it again. Random is a module, right? So you have to import random at the beginning, and whenever you're accessing random, you have to put a dot, right? So whenever you're using random, you have to put the name random dot randint, right? Or whatever other one, randrange or whatever. I'll go over what they can do, right? So you put random dot. Okay. So in this example number, I gave a variable, right, with the name number. Random, I'm accessing this module, random dot randint. Okay, so what randint can do is it can take in two values and it'll give you a random value between these two. Okay, so it'll give you a random value between 1 and 10. Okay, so we can run this, right? And I printed a random value 2. Now, if we run this again, sorry, that's unfortunate. Okay, 7, right? So it's different. And then run it again, it's 10. Okay, so it'll give you a random value between 1 and 10. Random.randit. You guys can try it out. Import random number is equal to random.randint, right? So you guys can try it on your own systems. Okay, so that was randint, a random integer. That's what it's short form for.
So basically, we have to make it like import random, and then like like we have to number is equal to random dot random, and we have to keep like some number, like two numbers, any two numbers, or only 1 and 10 or 0 and 10.
Oh, okay. It's not any two numbers. It's whatever range you want to keep. So the first value 1, the second value 10. So any value between 1 and 10, right? That's what it'll pick from. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what random.randint is. Next is random.rand. Randint, by the way, means random
Boots
integer.
and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats.
So next one.
How many
will
more
be,
of these classes?
2.
Yeah, okay.
No, just 2 more classes a day.
So next one will be rand range, which is random range, right? So in this, what you would do is you pass in 3 values, right? If you guys remember from last week. So if I put, say, range between 0, 10, and I take 2, right, as a third value. What's going to happen is it takes a range between 0 and 10, and it'll go at increments of 2. What that means, it'll take a random value between 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, right? It'll take a random value between those, right? 1, 3, 5, 7 is not even part of it. Okay, so that's what random.rand range can do. I'll try it a couple of times. Okay, so 0, sorry. Okay, perfect. So see, it's randomized, right? Okay, so that's what random.randint can do and random.randrange. Okay, so I'll write like a code with these two, just so you can see it, a better use case of it, right? So I'm gonna make a function called dice block. Okay, so I'm gonna create a function called dice block. What I want this to do is I want it to I want it to run, right? And give out a value based on what number you run it, right? So if I want a dice block with 6, like a normal dice block, right? With 6 sides, right? It can be 1 through 6, right? I want to, whoops. Okay, again, since we're using a function, we want to create an indent. So the space over here is important. So anything that you write over here will be part of the function. Again, just a reminder. Okay, so we're going to create a function called dice block, right? And in this function, we want to produce a random value. So a random integer would mean that we create number is equal to random dot rand int between 1 and, oh wait, why did I put 6 over there? Sorry. Max number. Okay, so this is the size of the dice block I want to keep, right? So max underscore number. Okay, so what's happening here is I'm making a dice block between 1 and any number that I want to keep. So let me show you. So dice block, I can give it 6, right? So I want to make this dice block between 1 and 6. That's what a normal dice block is, right? It has 6 sides. So I'm creating the function. It'll take in a maximum number. Maximum number basically means how many sides, right? Or okay, let me just write that. Amount of, sorry, sides, basically, right? So there's going to be the amount of sides to the dice block, right? So what I want to do is I want to get a random number. So a random number between 1 and however many sides we have, right? And then I can just print it. Print number, or the dice block rolled. Okay, and then number. Okay. So again, what's happening over here is anything that's part of this function has the space beforehand, and anything that's not part of the function over here does not have this space. Right? Okay. So this is, let me just run this. You don't get any errors. Whoops, we got to change it here. Okay, so there you go. Sorry. See, not big enough. Okay, so the dice block rolled and it picked a random number between the amount of sides that we gave it, right? So again, what's happening in this code is we're creating a number. This number is gonna pick a random value between 1 and however many sides. So 6 sides I gave, right? So it'll pick a random number between 1 and 6, and it'll print their dice block rolled and whatever number it gave, right? Whatever random number it picked. Okay, so does this code make sense? Anyone have any questions?
No.
I tried the maximum number thing that you just did. It's
Mhm.
just that it's just telling some kind of like some kind of red color kind of thingy.
Okay, do you want to share your screen?
Okay, let me just share my yeah, so basically this, and then I tried running. It just says like that.
Okay, so you put random number is equal to random is equal to random dot random. So you don't need that is equal to random over there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. Okay, perfect. Run it. Did it work?
I still didn't understand how did it roll 4 when I put 6.
Okay, so what 6 actually is, okay, yeah, there you go. What 6 actually is, it's the amount of sides, right? So how many sides are on a dice block? There's 6 sides,
6.
right? So
Yeah.
we're kind of virtually taking a random number, right? So between these 6 sides on a dice block, we're gonna pick one random one, right? A random number. So what's happening here is we're using random.randint. If you remember what that is, random.randint will take a range of values and it'll output a random value in it, right? So it'll take a range of values, which is 1, 6, because 1 to 6, 6 sides. So it'll take a range of values between 1 and 6, and it'll give you a random value, right? So you can get 2, 3, 4, 5, anything, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Then it'll print it. That's pretty much it, right? You're basically taking a random value between the range of numbers that you have. Okay, does that make a little more sense? So 6 is the range that you're providing it. If we were to say like a dice block with 10 values, right? It'll give you a random value between 1 and 10. Okay? Does that make sense? You guys can copy this code if you want. Okay, perfect. So now we can move on to the next topic or the next use of random.
Can you share your screen again?
Oh, sorry.
I'll just take a quick screenshot of it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so next we're going to can I remove this? Okay, let me just comment it out. Okay, basically what this means is none of this code is going to register. It'll just be ignored by Python. Okay. So I'm going to create a list. Say like a grocery underscore list. This is going to have random value, random like grocery items, so like chips or like sauce, popcorn. Okay. So like soda. Okay. So we're gonna make a list over here, and we're gonna use this next value of this next ability with the random module called random.choice, right? So if you remember, random.random will take a range of values and it'll pick one. Random.choice will use the list and it'll pick a random element. Okay, so if we were to do
Is it like sort of like the functions?
that we're creating,
No, not like that. Like you had showed one kind, something called functions, right?
mhm.
Yeah. So is it something similar to that, like choosing it according to?
Yeah, so random, so this, I guess this is, yeah, kind of a function because it's performing a certain task, but we're not artificially making it in the code itself. It's kind of given to us. That's true, what you're
Okay.
saying. So it is a function to pick a random number. That's pretty true. But we don't have to create the function per se, right? So, okay, let me just, uh, item is equal to random dot choice, right? If you remember, whenever you're using the random, you have to do random dot, right? And then you can put whatever function you want to use from the random module, right? And again, if you can, once you type choice, this is what's good about a Python environment, is you can see over here what it's going to take in, right? So random.choice will take in a sequence. Sequence meaning a list in this case, right? So grocery underscore list, and we can print item. Oh, sorry. I don't know, I put the quotation marks. Okay. Okay, yeah. So if you see over here, this printed a random value in the list, right? Because I did random dot choice, and then I put in a list, right? Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Does this make sense? So it gave
Yes.
me a random value in this list. Okay. Yeah, great. So let me give you the homework before we can end the class. And I can go over the next ones maybe later, sometime later. They're relatively simple as well. Okay, so this is what your homework is. I want you to create a game. So use a function over here in this case. So I want you to create a game so where both players roll a dice. I showed you how to roll a dice, right? This is how you can roll a dice on Python, right? Where both players are going to roll a dice and whoever has a bigger number is going to win. Okay? You can ignore this part, input player names, whatever, if you understand that, then good. And use your random module, of course, right? So you're going to roll for them, right? Use like a 6-side rolling thing. So the 6. So you want to roll for 2 people, and whoever has the bigger number is the winner. Okay, and you print this person, player 1 wins, right? Or player 2 wins. Okay, does this homework make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you guys can try it out right now for 5 minutes, see if you have any questions. And then you can take it as actual homework. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay, Should I keep this on my screen or do you want the code on my screen?
Code.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. So this is how to make a dice block. So what you kind of have to do is you have to make this dice block work for two people, right? And you want to get the bigger number. So you use an if statement to say if this first roll is greater than the second roll, then whoever that player wins, right? So take some time, try it out. I'll give you the answer next class, right? You guys can take it as homework if you don't understand it. Cool, but for now, I'll give you 5 minutes. So anybody have any questions with today's class? Okay, that's good.
No.
Okay, so if no one has any more questions, you guys can take this as homework.
I just have one question, in fact.
Yeah.
So, how do you find a way to make one number greater than the other? I know how to make both of the dice roll, but like, how do you make one number greater than the other?
Right, so you can store each roll in a different variable, and
Oh.
then you can use an if statement,
Okay.
right? So you can test if player one's roll is greater than player two's roll, then that person wins, player one wins, right? If player two rolls bigger than player one, then player two wins. Okay? Cool, so if no one has any more questions, we can just take attendance and then we can end the class here. Can everyone put their name in the chat box? And then you can leave the meeting whenever you're ready.
Bye.
Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Bye, see you.
Bye.
Bye.